Hey, and welcome to another video. If you could hit subscribe, like, and a notification bell, that would be awesome. Today I want to talk about Holden vs Ford. Holden has a long history in Australia. The company existed for 164 years, but sadly got closed down in 2020. Holden produced the Holden Commodore. That has to be one of the most Australian iconic vehicles ever made. This vehicle was loved by all in Australia, especially the people that were car enthusiasts. Because not only did this car come in a sedan, a ute, and a wagon, each variant of these came with a 6-cylinder or a V8. It had everyone sorted. It had your mum and pop, it had your road goers, and it has your now 50-year-old dad ready with his V8 engine. The Commodore is still a beloved vehicle for burnouts and doing, well, reckless things on the roads. I still think they're a fantastic car to get into if you are a car enthusiast. They're not too expensive and you can find them for around $15,000 to $50,000 depending on what variant of car you want. But the V6 is no joke. It's coming in at 210 kilowatts of power and 350 newton-meters of torque. They aren't the fastest car in the world, but they are cheaper horsepower than brand new vehicles. Plus, the modding scene for these vehicles is pretty much endless. I think everyone's done anything and everything to these vehicles. Because not only 10 years ago were these a tradie's best friend, the sports ute's just all around a great car if you don't have a family yet and you just need to move stuff around in Australia. And then if you did have a family, that's where, well, the wagon or the sedan came in. Because everyone will tell you in Australia that at least someone's mum would come pick them up in a Holden ute, a Holden wagon, or you had a friend that at least was a tradie that had a Holden ute. Or of course you've had stories where you're a little bit of a reckless child and you got dropped off at home in a different kind of Holden. But of course you can't talk about Holden without talking about Ford here in Australia. Because of course, Ford Australia needed to have competition to Holden. So, of course, that bred the Ford Falcon, better known to Australia as the XR6. XR6 and the XR8 are probably the most well-known vehicles in Australia as well, but I don't think they're as cool as the Holden Commodores. This vehicle also came in a sedan, a wagon, and a ute. I feel like most people do forget that this car did come in a wagon, it's just it wasn't a very attractive looking one. People more remember this vehicle for the utes and sedans. The XR6 came in at 195 kilowatts of power, but is a few less than, well, the Holden Commodore, which always started the debate of which was better, Holden vs Ford. But I do feel like there's one thing that everyone agreed on, and everyone can still agree on, is that the Barra motor is an Australian icon. This is a motor that America never got. This is an engine that back in the 90s that everyone knew someone that knew how to make 1,000 horsepower out of this thing. People telling you need to get a huge turbo to someone saying that you need to fill half the block with cement. Everyone had their trick of the trade when it came to the Barra motor. Then of course you've got the Holden motor that came in different variants over the years. From what I hear is most people love the LF1 V6. But then there's people that will tell you that the HFV V6 is actually better. But of course what everyone will actually tell you is, get the V8, why'd you get the V6? But one thing we can all agree on is that Holden vs Ford in Australia is a legitimate thing. Because let's face it, who can do the best burnouts in their car? Holden or Ford? Is a question that we'll ask through the ages. Sadly, with Holden closing down, I feel like that competition, well, has come to an end. Because sadly, I see in the next 10 to 15 years Holden becoming a collector's vehicle. I can see people buying up these vehicles and trying to get them into the American market and getting the American people excited for a vehicle that they never got. Sadly, this is something I already see with the Holden Maloo, especially with the Holden Maloo HSV. I feel like everyone can agree that Ford didn't touch this with a 10-foot pole when they had that competition. I feel like every person that's watching this right now can agree with me and tell you that this is a crazy sexy ute. And I'm someone that's going to tell you that I do miss the actual sports utes. Because everyone keeps buying the four-wheel drive utes that, well, don't go off-road ever. Because they cost $100,000 for the ute. But I mean, you can't be mad at that, because Holden vs Ford was such an iconic era. You had the Bathurst 1000. Over 20 years of Holden vs Ford in these races. So many years of them competing with each other to try and see who was the better manufacturer. But with Holden leaving, there is now Toyota. Toyota is now entering the race with a Toyota Supra V8 swapped engine. What's going to be absolutely ludicrous to see. I think when it comes to Holden vs Ford, we can't look to the past, we have to move to the future. And sadly, Holden no longer exists. The last car that they made was October 18th, 2017. So sadly, I think Ford won. But Ford is still making amazing vehicles. They're still making the Ford Mustang. That's still a somewhat achievable car for most people if they want a V8. And whatever vehicle this is called. Who doesn't want a Mustang EV V8 sedan? But you can't really hate on Ford as much as that I want to hate on Ford right now, because they're still around. Holden's no longer around. Sadly, Australians didn't buy the vehicles as much as they wanted them to. But it doesn't mean the car doesn't live on in our memory. Because it doesn't mean the races that they fought and won mean less. It doesn't mean they weren't there when you needed them most for your work gear, for your work days. It just means that they're going to become a collector piece. They're going to be something that you store, you look after, and well, now you know that you own a piece of history. So, in my opinion, Ford did beat Holden. But only on a slight technicality, because well, they no longer exist. So, on that, I have to say, it's a goodbye to the fun-loving Holden burnout vehicles. Thank you all for watching. If you guys could leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, that'd be awesome. Thank you all for watching.